And then last thing at night before you go to sleep, you do 3 bows. And all of this is to establish our sense of connection with the lineage, which is what we are profoundly connecting with as we do Tara practice. Let's see. So since some of you are quite new to this, I'll give a kind of condensed, distilled sort of summary of some of the important points. The practice of Tara is one of many what are called sadhanas or meditational deities. So we practice Tara in the Usul Dorje Sangha, the secret treasures of the luminous Vajra. You have, I think there's some text there. Are there not? Are they? I don't know. Yes. If you will need your text. You may need to look on. I'm not sure how many they are. No, there's enough. There's enough. So many of you know, but for some of you who may not, the Mahayana, which is what is practiced in Tibet, also in China, Korea, Japan, Vietnam, the Mahayana tradition, the great vehicle tradition, which arose in India about 400 or 500 years after the time of the Buddha. Buddha's word is divided, and the Buddhist practices are divided into early Buddhism, we call Nikaya Buddhism, sometimes called Hinayana Buddhism. We try to avoid that term, though, because it means lesser vehicle. The early Buddhist traditions, or sometimes we call them the Southern Buddhist traditions, have a body of literature known as the Sutras. And then the Mahayana, which begins, as I said, several hundred years after the time of the Buddha, has other sutras and also tantras. So the entire collection of the Buddha's word, as far as the Tibetan traditions go, there is a body of literature known as the Sutras and a body of literature known as the Tantras. And also when we talk about practice in the Mahayana tradition, we speak about sutra practice, which is what we've been doing when we cultivate mindfulness, the kind of love and compassion that we have been talking about. All of this, those of you who have been reading Words of My Perfect Teacher or Tantric Practice in Nyingma, the foundational practices that we do, all of these are topics of the central topics of the Mahayana and part of sutra practice and also preparatory for tantric practice. There are subdivisions among these that I won't go into today. For now, we can just think in terms of sutra and tantra. And generally speaking, one practices these kinds of practices once we have some basic familiarity with Buddhism, some basic familiarity with the cultivation of attention, a heartfelt connection with Buddhist tradition, and really a wish to develop the good qualities that are intrinsic in our own Buddha nature by cultivating a particularly strong relationship with a particular enlightened being, in this case, Green Tara. Green Tara, Longchenpa says that these enlightened beings that we have all around us, these are actually expressions of reality. They are expressions of the wondrous qualities of love and wisdom and power that are actually present in reality itself, but not necessarily manifest. That means they're also present in our own nature. So in cultivating a connection with Tara, we are cultivating a connection with our own capacity for the qualities that she particularly brings forth, the quality of very, very tender caring, like a green shoot, just tender and fresh and responsive and sweet and swift. As we sing to her when we sing her Refuge, she is known for swiftly. She promised that she would just immediately come when anybody called and help. She comes and she helps. She's the energy of responsiveness. She's green, which is the color of the essential color of the wind element. And like the wind, she just comes in, she arrives swiftly as needed. There's much that we could say about Tara, just giving you a little distillation, okay? As a being, she's a being and she's a quality. And she is neither something completely other than ourselves nor identical, of course, with our ordinary selves. And the purpose of this practice is to connect with her, which means to connect with this quality in ourselves, this enlightened quality in ourselves. And we are doing this particularly through the Yosel Dorje Sangze, which is in the tradition of Adzom Trukpa, who died in 1924, who himself had direct visions of Jigme Lingpa. Let's see, so that's Adzom Trukpa, and this tanka here, a very famous figure who brings the Longchen Nyingtik, heart essence of the vast expanse, which is this transmission, which really goes back to Guru Rinpoche in the 8th century, and then Longchen Rabcham in the 14th century, and Jigme Lingpa in the 18th century. And that's Jigme Lingpa. I don't know if you can see it where you're sitting. Jigme Lingpa is in the lower right of this tanka here, below Adzom Trukpa, and on the lower left is Longchenpa. These are very great figures in the Tibetan tradition, particularly in the Nyingma tradition. This is also Longchenpa, this figure here in orange at this tanka. Adzom Trukpa had powerful visions of Jigme Lingpa. Jigme Lingpa had powerful visions of Longchen Rabcham. And Longchen Rabcham was directly predicted by Guru Rinpoche. So for us, this lineage is very close, even though it goes all the way back to Guru Rinpoche in the 8th century. And we received this through our teacher, Adzom Pela Rinpoche, who in his previous life was in fact the son, the flesh and blood son of Adzom Trukpa. Adzom Trukpa had some very famous children. One of them was Pema Wangel, and Pema Wangel was the previous life of Adzom, our teacher, Adzom Rinpoche. Adzom Trukpa, you may know already that in the Tibetan tradition, great figures like Longchenpa, like Jigme Lingpa, like Adzom Trukpa, like Adzom Rinpoche himself, like Namkhe Norpa Rinpoche, they are known as treasure discoverers, treasure revealers. And texts, words, liturgies descend into their minds. They discover them in their minds. They're considered to have been planted there by Guru Rinpoche. This is a very particular style of revelation and of textual production. It's not like they just decide to write it. It's not like it is a situation where they are being directly fed by the prophecy that they would find such and such a text, and they do. So Adzom Trukpa, the Longchen Nyingtik, heart essence of the vast expanse, the Longchen Nyingtik is the revealed treasure of Jigme Lingpa in the 18th century. The secret treasures of the luminous Vajra is a revealed treasure which is considered in Tibet like the child of the heart essence of the vast expanse, because Adzom Trukpa had powerful visions of Jigme Lingpa and came forth with this. So this is the transmission that we're in, heart essence of the vast expanse child, which is secret treasures of the luminous Vajra. And there are many texts in this tradition, and the green Tara that we do is from this, the luminous Vajra. Secret treasures of the luminous Vajra. It's secret because generally we don't recognize or understand its real meaning, which ultimately is our own true nature, which is what we're always looking to understand. In that sense, it's secret. It's a treasure because it actually contains the base, the path, and the fruit of the Buddha's enlightened intention. In other words, it's a complete path. And it's a vajra. Vajra means something that is unchanging and indestructible. So this is a very powerful, precious sadhana, which comes with great blessings, and which is also kind of our family heritage, is how we feel about it, because we're very close to Azom Rinpoche. Even if you haven't met him, we're very close. That means we're all very close. That means you're his grandchildren, whether you know it or not. And this was his father in his previous life, plus his spiritual teacher. So it's very close. It's like your being on your grandma's knee and hearing, what the family has been cherishing all these years. So Tara is, as I mentioned, this exquisite expression of tenderness, like the fresh rain on a green field. If you think of early spring when the fresh grass is green and supple and just bends with the wind, and a whole field of green is just swaying in the wind, it's kind of very tender and very sweet and very appealing, very nourishing. All of these things. Tara is all of these things. She's swift, she cares, she is very particular expression of compassion, very powerfully connected with Avalokiteshvara. So how do we connect with her? Well, actually, we'll do a guided practice to just begin to sense a little bit what she's about. And in following the liturgy, we'll do that first, just to kind of get a feel, because it's not just about words, it's not just about ideas, it's not just about singing a song or even about sitting up straight and having your attention really, it's really about connecting with this quality, this exquisite, loving quality, which it's important to remind oneself is actually part of you already. That's our logos in this tradition, that everything that we are seeking, that we practice so hard to, quote, get, we actually already have it, but we don't know it, or we're simply, maybe even kind of know it, but we're not able to live it because we're obstructed by our own ignorance of various kinds. Tara is particularly famous for rescuing one from fear. The way you feel completely at ease when you look over a fresh green field in flower and health, and it's just so appealing and restoring. She's a great restorer with her fresh wind of tender caring, and she releases us from fear. The traditional texts talk about how she protects from fear of snakes and elephants and lions, but we're mostly not so afraid of those things. We're afraid of, well, it's good actually in preparation for this retreat to consider what it is you are afraid of. We're all afraid of something, mostly our own minds. We're afraid of failure, we're afraid of always being fearful. We're afraid of not measuring up. We're afraid of being unloved. We're afraid of getting old. We're afraid that we're going to die before we want to, and we never really want to. We have a lot of fears, which we spend a lot of time covering up. So this is a time to say, okay, yes, I have fears, but it's okay because, and I can even, it's okay for me to be in touch with them. Usually being in touch with fear is really quite something we really avoid. We don't like to feel fear. We'd rather feel anger than fear, as we've talked about many times. Fear is a very unpleasant feeling. But, when you're in your mama's arms, you can just cry your heart out. Or when you're with your good friend, your lifelong friend, or somebody you trust, your brother, your sister, then it's okay. We say, we can let our hair down, we can cry, we can just tremble, it's okay because somebody's there to help us. So Tara gives us that opportunity. It's okay. She's going to help. Whatever it is, she's there. She's there, and that means some part of our own capacity is there as well. We're going to begin by taking refuge in her and expressing that I want to be free from fear. It's right there in the text. To be free from fear and suffering, I take refuge and I trust. So trust, when we do retreats on this, sometimes trust is a really important issue that one really, wants to deal with. Fear and trust. Fear is a lack of trust. So we're cultivating capacity to trust. And in order to trust, we have to be kind of soft ourselves. If we go around and say, I'm okay, nothing wrong with me, that's not trust, right? That's like armor. So this is trust. Now, none of this is easy, and I'm just laying out for you some of the riches of the practice. Whatever comes up for you this weekend, you're mostly we're still learning the practice, but at least you know where it's headed and what the compass of it is. And then we develop bodhichitta, wishful active bodhichitta, sometimes called aspiring and actual bodhichitta. Bodhichitta means we're practicing to come to the full flower of our spiritual potential, which Buddhists call Buddhahood, so that we can benefit all beings. That's why we're here. That's why we're here, to be free from fear and suffering, because that happens along the path. Really, we want to be able to benefit everyone. And that's our wish. And then when we actually begin to engage in the training to become that kind of person, that's active bodhicitta. So we remember that. And you're familiar with this already from the foundational practices, which is why we do the foundational practices first. And if you're not so familiar with it, then it is part of your path to go back to the foundational practices and really, develop this so that the next time you do Tara, you have it. But it's fine to learn about Tara now. It helps you understand where all this is headed. And we take a vow to protect all beings. Ooh, remind me, we actually have this in Spanish. I didn't bring it. I don't know if I have it on my computer. I will try, especially if you send me an email. I'm pretty sure we have it in Spanish. Yeah. We feel, I'll do a guided walk us through this. We begin by feeling that Tara is in front of us. So that means you look at this picture, you see what Tara looks like, and you just feel that she's there. Now that itself, of course, is a whole practice to get used to be able to seeing, feeling, sensing, imagining. But anyway, with your heart, you feel she's here, okay? She's here. She's looking at you and you're looking at her. And she's loving you and you're loving her. And she is also mirroring to you your own real potential. Very important aspect. So when we say that, Tara dissolves. And into us, we dissolve. We go, za, hong, bum, ho. Everything dissolves. Everything is empty. And then out of this emptiness, now this is a part that takes background and familiarity, but in principle, what is happening is that, so you've just developed a mind of refuge and a mind of compassion, which is also somehow connected with the truth of emptiness, because we've dissolved into space. And out of that, whatever you happen to understand about being insubstantial, being unreified, whatever love is impelling you to this practice, which is dynamizing your mind, you light up and you arise as a letter tum. It's green tum. This is it right here. It looks like that. It's a green tum. One moment, it's there. And then we sing this description, really, recognizing that given that everything is empty, really everything is pure, and there's a mansion beyond seen seer, that means somehow it's non-dualistic. And in the middle of it, we are Tara. So this is a very special thing about this kind of practice, about tantric practice, is that we become green Tara. This is not considered presumptuous. This is a very special technique to overcome our very benighted idea that we are ordinary, that we are mere flesh and blood, that we are our body, you know. Yeah.
There's no initiation required in order to visualize yourself as a deity?
Not for us. I will give transmission. I mean, it is ideal if you have initiation. And anybody who saw how many of you saw Ajahn Rinpoche's initiation video? You did? So you have it? Anybody else? You didn't see it? Oh. Rinpoche has made for Tara, a kind of open welcome for people to do this without the initiation, just with the transmission. It'd be good to get the initiation when that's possible. If you've had other initiations, that's also helpful. So you've at least been initiated into reality in some sense. Okay, so you arise as Tara. One face, two hands, peaceful smile. All of this has symbolism. And you're basically just describing yourself. Then we do some gestures of respect to her. We're just going to sing it through. So really the whole thing, and then we make offerings. This is on page 4 of my edition. We invite Tara like an honored guest in the style of traditional India. So when an honored guest comes, you give them water so they can wash their feet. Or first water for drinking, argyam, then water to wash their feet. Padyam, pupe, you offer flowers, you give incense and light and perfume and so on. And there are hand gestures, mudras, that we do to symbolize that we are offering this to Tara. But we're not offering it to her as if we are other than her. Obviously, there's a lot to understand here. Okay, I'm sketching it out. And you can just, whatever you get, it's fine. This is how practice begins. In time, we'll do a Tara retreat and really go over all of this. But it's a great blessing to be part of the Drupcha. And you will learn a lot just through doing that. And we sing her praises and her qualities. And then most of the practice actually is we recite her mantra, and there are 2 mantras on page 5. Om Taritam Soha, Om Taritam Soha. So while we say Om Taritam Soha, you feel that the mantra, Om Taritam Soha, is moving around your heart, actually counterclockwise, and green rays of light are going out to all of the enlightened beings, but especially to all of the Taras throughout space. Throughout space means that your entire imagination is filled with Tara. There's nothing else, right? Wherever there is space, there is Tara. That means your whole dimension of experience is just Tara Pure Land now, and you're sending out light, offering to her, to many, many zillions of Taras all around. Because as we're practicing living in an enlightened universe, which we actually live in, but we don't see it that way. And then light comes back from her, blessing us. It's always this exchange. It's giving and receiving. It's kind of like how reality is. We offer, and Tara immediately comes back to us with blessings. And then when we're all blessed up like this, we do the longer mantra, Om Tare Tutare Turi Soha, Om Tare Tutare Turi Soha, Om Tare Tutare Turi Soha. And at that time, the 5 colors of light are expanding from this mantra, which is still circling around our heart. There's kind of a dynamism, right? This is circling around your heart. Now, of course, over the 2 days that we do this, you have time, right? You have time to kind of think about the mantra, think about the light, think about the Tara. You can kind of move through it step by step while you're saying the mantra, because it's a learning process. We understand that. It's a learning process. So you could start by just thinking about the tum. Then you can feel that light's going out. So you can kind of teach yourself the practice by mentally going through the parts of it, thinking of yourself as green, thinking of yourself as light as you're saying the mantra. And the mantra is a tremendous support, because the mantra is the the actual essential sound and vibration of Tara herself. So it's not like your imagination is dry, or you're putting together a house of cards. Your energy, that's what's so powerful about the Drupcha. We're chanting, most of what we do all day long is chant this mantra. And so it begins to set up a certain kind of energy. So light goes out, light comes back. Light goes out offering health and happiness and whatever is desired to all beings. So you are fulfilling your wish here as a bodhisattva, right? You're sending out 5 colors of light, and you're enlightening and illuminating the entire universe of living beings. And you can be as specific as you want. You can go to the hells, the hungry ghosts, you can go to specific people. So we do that. Then we do a purification of speech, which some of you are familiar with. And then we praise her again, and we close. So that's, in essence, the practice. There are other elements involved in the Drupcha, which I'll talk a little bit about tomorrow. And on Friday, because we're going to have music, we're going to have ritual Drolmas, we're going to actually, on Sunday, we'll actually do the tsok, which is in here, but we won't recite it except when we do it. We'll have food. It's a party. It's a party for Tara. It's an enlightenment party. And Lori is going to be here on Friday at 3, between 3 and 5:30, for those of you who would like to learn how to do the music. We have long horns, we have drum, and we have, what else we have? The conch, maybe we will use the rimo. And then also she is going to teach people to do torma, like these white things that are here with the little circles on them. They're offerings to Tara, and they're specific. Each practice has its own torma, so she's going to teach that. If you'd like to come. She's quite expert at it, and she'll really push you to do it exactly right, so you can cultivate patience also. But she's very skilled at it, and so that's all part of the enriching of the environment. So that's very, very brief. Of course, there's more to say about Tara and her story and so on. But in some ways, it's very simple. And then however much you understand, you understand. And the way practice yields understanding, and then you might have other questions that we can talk about. Do you have any questions right now? Yeah.
Is there a generation phase?
Yeah, but it's not very elaborate. This is the generation phase. When you start with Tum, you arise as Tara. It's as simple as that. It's one style. It's like on a yoga style. You Tara. You don't go through all that. But you do start with the Tum. Yeah. All right. Probably too new to have any questions at this moment. You can spend a little time between now and the Drupcha, or even between now and tomorrow, just looking at Tara. Just looking at her. Yeah. Rinpoche has a very particular connection with Tara. Jason Kachiwamo, his sister, whose exquisite voice, I think most of you have heard. Maybe we could be playing it tomorrow also. Do we have it? She's considered an emanation of Tara. So, Tara's in our family. I mean, she's family. She's family for us, so that makes her family for you. Yeah.
I looked up a couple of years ago, Tara. And there was a green Tara, blue Tara,
Yeah.
red Tara, white Tara. Are they all the same, or do they have different?
They have somewhat different qualities. There's 21 Taras, traditionally. And green Tara, however, is she includes all of them. There's a lot to say about Tara. We don't have time. I'm just trying to introduce you to the essential of the practice so that you can have your own feelings about it and her and your own relationship to tenderness, and then it develops from there. you know. And once for those of you who are quite new to Ngondro, the foundational practices, you know, in terms of your path, we really want you to get very grounded in that. And then you can turn your attention to Tara. But still, she's so lovely. Adzam Rinpoche said, okay, everybody wants to do Tara. They may not want to do the foundational practices like they're supposed to, but they want to do Tara. So Adzam Rinpoche said, okay, you know, people can do Tara, because at least you get some feeling. It's all part of the same family of practices. Okay. Just take a breath. Do a little guided practice to kind of get us in the mood. Actually, before we do that, we will do the Refuge and bodhichitta that we usually do from the Longchen Nyingtik, from the parent of this text, the heart essence of the vast expanse. So if you have a sheet or also, today is Guru Rinpoche Day, by the way. Yes, so it's very auspicious for us to be starting. And of course, Guru Rinpoche and Tara are central to our lineage. It really all goes back to Guru Rinpoche. Guru Rinpoche is very connected with Avalokiteshvara, and Tara really was born as a tear from Avalokiteshvara. So because it's also Guru Rinpoche Day, I want to also sing the 7-line prayer, okay, which, for that you need this, it's not on your... This is like the heart song of Nyingma, the ancient tradition. It's the heart song of Guru Rinpoche, and it is on page 18. So we'll do Refuge, bodhichitta. I will do the invocation to Adzam Rinpoche for his blessings for all of our activity, which are directly in his lineage. And then we'll sing together the 7-line prayer 3 times. Okay? Does everybody have it? Yes. Do you have it, Paul? You know it. Okay. In 3 real jewels, 3 root bliss-filled ones, channels, winds, bright orbs, this Bodhi mind, essence, nature, moving love, mantal, until full Bodhi I seek refuge. In 3 real jewels, 3 root bliss-filled ones, channels, winds, bright orbs, this Bodhi mind, essence, nature, moving love, mantal, until full Bodhi I seek refuge. In 3 real jewels, 3 root bliss-filled ones, channels, winds, bright orbs, this Bodhi mind, essence, nature, moving love, mantal, until full Bodhi I seek refuge. You can just say the refuge quickly to yourself, James, before you go on to the bodhicitta. Oh, like moons in water, sights deceive us. We ever roam bound in cyclic chains. So all may rest in their clear mind sphere. I raise Bodhi through 4 boundless states. Oh, like moons in water, sights deceive us. We ever roam bound in cyclic chains. So all may rest in their clear mind sphere. I raise Bodhi through 4 boundless days. Oh, like moons in water, sights deceive us. We ever roam bound in cyclic chains. So all may rest in their clear mind sphere. I raise Bodhi through 4 boundless states. And Guru Rinpoche melts into you with all those blessings, dissolving completely into your own heart mind. Kyabda Gelwanam Tang Yerme Be Gundrin Sumdan Chinchan Lama Che Rigzin Jorme Tupten Jatsola Solwadep Sonyamlen Tarchin Shum. Seven-line prayer. We'll do it in English, Tibetan, and English. Northwest against border there in a blooming lotus stem, flowers amazing and supreme, widely known as lotus born. With dakinis all around, I do practice as you did. Please bring on your waves of splendor, Guru, bring me cities home. Hoing orchen yulchin up chansam bemage sadambala yansen choking andrubne bedma jungne shesudrak kordu kandre mambe gor gegi jesudadrubchi jinshilab shishek sukso guru bedma siddhi hong. Oh, northwest Ujjain's border there on a blooming lotus stem, powers amazing and supreme, widely known as lotus born. With dakinis all around, I do practice as you did. Please bring your waves of splendor, Guru, bring me cities home. And relax into your easefully upright posture like a fresh spring of grass springing forth from the soil in the sunshine. So the energy is flowing through the central corridor of your body, which is straight because you are seated erectly, one rib supported by the rib beneath it. It's very comfortable and very solid, and at the same time very flexible posture, and your neck is long, your chin is tucked in just a bit. It also helps the energy move, the energy of Tara that we're going to be inviting. And at the same time, you feel profoundly supported by your seat, and your seat is indeed profoundly supported by the earth herself. You are, after all, seated here directly above the center of the earth. And there is support coming to you from there. It is reliable. It is support you can trust. When we can trust, we can be at ease, we can relax. That may be a process that we work with for some time, to be able to trust and be at ease and relax. And recognizing the various challenges that you have in your life, whatever they may be, internal or external. And the kind of defenses that we develop so that we can manage going through our lives. kind of emotional armor, a kind of stiffness, a kind of indifference that isn't true equanimity, but a protective layer. And we all have that, one degree or another. Might look a little different on different people, but we all have it. We're beginning to open to the possibility of this melting away. And we see Tara before us. Luminous, green, benevolent, swift as the wind, tender as a flower petal. And we don't really want to be defended against her. We want to connect with her deeply. Really, from the depths of our hearts, we want to connect with her. She shows us what is possible for us. And until we are really like her, she comes to help us whenever we need. Like a gentle green mist that softens everything around it. In the mist, things just feel soft. The air is soft. Everything is melting. Our ignorance, our ferociousness, our fear, which makes us defensive, is going to melt. It's going to be replaced by something fluid, fresh, responsive, alive. That's our prayer. So just take a moment to touch into your own sense, perhaps remembering a time when you truly felt tender, held. Or maybe a time when you really longed for that, and your longing itself showed you what it was like. That's the quality. Just sense into that, your own experience of that quality of tenderness, which is going to be closely related to the fears that we have of being tender, being vulnerable. Tara is the tenderness, and our mistrust, our fear is what we are bringing to our request for refuge. We want to be healed of this. It's not our real nature. It may be an unstoppable habit at this time, but it is not our real nature. It never was, it never could be. Our real nature is much more like what Tara is showing us. Fresh, kind, swift, loving. And it's always good in doing this practice in a formal way to keep alive your own real sense of fear as you have experienced it, and also tenderness as you either experienced it or imagine it. Our practice is a formal practice, but our heart is not formal. Our heart is really longing for freedom from fear and suffering. And we silently read the first verse, beginning with O Sublime Tara. We just read that silently. And now feel as best you can that green Tara herself, and she is luminous. She is every detail clear. And of course, she's made of light, so she's also transparent, there's nothing solid. In whatever way you can, just feel that she's present before you. Now we're going to take refuge. We'll do these 4 lines in English, Tibetan, and English. To be free from fear and suffering, sublime Tara, refuge, heart I trust. Wishful, active bodhicittas raise and vow to protect every being. Namo Jiktantung El Duga Ledril Cheer Pakma Drolma Japchi Ying Bording Muntang Juk Bei Chanju Sem Jito Yichen Drogun Kyeva Tangjo. Namo, to be free from fear and suffering, sublime Tara, refuge, heart I trust. Wishful, active bodhicittas raise and vow to protect every being. Tsa, Hong, Bum, Ho, Tsokshingran la Timba Gyur. So we rest in emptiness, or just spaciousness. Everything has become space. And now we begin to arise as Tara. The first thing to come forth is this green tum, which is her heart syllable, heart energy. Tum, all things essence, always pure, mentioned beyond seen. In its midst, lotus and moon, on which green tum now becomes. Jades and Drolma, body green, one face, 2 hands, peaceful smile. Longu complete, right leg curved, right hand supreme gift mudra. Takes wind out of fear and pain, at heart left 3 gem mudra. Fresh Udpala blooms at ear, glowing light endless and clear. Expands, invites from the sphere, boundless wise ones, one with me. Om Aryatara Saparivara Benja Samayadza Tishta Bhajatam Atiput Atishta Ho Agam Padyam Pushpe Dupe Aloke Gande Naividya Shabda Rupa Shabda Gande Rasa Sparshe Dame Prachichaho Pensha Palinda Rakta Freeing suffering, all Buddha's yom, color true green, blue, swift heroine. Long good gem dispels to cake and foes, praise and homage, kind sublime lady. On my heart moon stands green Tom, rounded mantra strands whose rays flow forth, return, fill to needs, one great sameness, bliss become. So as we sing the mantra, you can refresh everything that we've done up till now while you're saying the mantra, feeling green, feeling made of light, the tum at your heart, just step by step. You won't get through all the steps today. The mantra going around your heart, and perhaps above all, the green light expanding from the mantra in your heart, making offerings to Tara throughout space. I'd like to bring a mala to, while we do this. You can keep track of how many you do, but you don't have to try to get to any particular amount. We usually begin singing together, and then we go into a silence where you're just whispering it really inaudibly. Okay, so we'll start singing together, and then there'll be a time where we're just saying, you're just saying it to yourself, and not like using any vocalization at all. Om Taritam Soha, 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 Om Taritam Soha. Tam Soha, Om Taritam 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 Soha. Tam Soha, Om Taritam 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 Soha. Tam Soha, Om Taritam 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 Soha. Om Tari Dam So, Om Tari Dam. Om Tari Dam So, Om Tari. Om Tari Dam So. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re 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 So. Tu Tare Tu Re So. Om Tare 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 Tu Tare Tu Re So. And now the whole universe has turned into a universe of taras, and they're all singing with you. You have purified and liberated the entire universe. Om Tare Dudare Dure Soha. And here we do a purification of speech. This is always done after we've done mantra recitation. It's in the foundational practices, so if you were doing the foundational practices, this will become very familiar to you. It's basically reciting the Sanskrit alphabet and then a sacred mantra. And this is described in the early chapters of Tantric practice in Nyingma. So those of us who are familiar with it will just do it, and you'll learn it just by being here. A e u ri 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 I o ang a ka 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 nga ta 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 nya ka 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 na ta 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 na pa 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 ma ya la va cha ka sa hang kya om ben da sa sa me ya ma na ba la ya ben da sa te no ba ti shu ti da me ba wa su ta ka ya me ba wa su pa ka ya me ba wa anarakta me ba wa sarva siddhi me ta ya sa sarva karma su sa me ti dam shi am ko ra hong ha ha ho bhagavan Sava Tata Gata Vajramami Munja Vaja Baba Maha Samaya Sattva Ahom Pet A I U Ri 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 I O Ang A Ka 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 Nga Ta 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 Nya Ta 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 Na Ta 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 Na Pa 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 Maya Lava Chakata Hang Kya Om Bendazava Samaya Manobalaya Bendazava Dinoba Tishudita Mebawa Sutakaya Mebawa Supakaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sarvasiddhi Metayasa Sarvakarma Sutame Siddham Shiyam Kurahong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarvadada Gata Vajamami Manja Vaja Baba Mat Samaya Tattva Ahom Pet. For your reference, the 100-syllable mantra is on page 14 of this book, and we'll be using it throughout the retreat. One more round here. A I U Ri 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 I O Ang A Ka 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 Nga Ta 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 Nya Ta 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 Na Ta 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 Na Pa 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 Ma Ya La Va Sha Ga Sa Hang Kya. Now the 100-syllable mantra on page 14. 14 of the prayer book. This is known as the 100-syllable mantra. It's a very significant purification. Om Benzra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Benza Sattva Tenopa Tishto Dirdo Mebawa Sutokaya Mebawa Supokaya Mebawa Anurakto Mebawa Sarva Siddhi Metrayatsa Sarva Karma Sutsa Me Titam Shiyam Kuro Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vaja Mame Muncha Vaja Bhava Maha Samaya Sato Ahom Pet. And this next mantra is also known as the gist of the entire Buddhist teachings. It's the mantra of dependent arising, central principle for all of Buddhist wisdom and compassion. So we say this also here. Ye dharma hetu trabhava hetum tekam tatagato hiyawadet tekam chayo naroda evam vadi mahashrama nahi soha. Ye dhamma hetu prabhava hetum tekam tatagato hiyawadet tekam chayo naroda evam vadi mahashrama nahi soha. Ye dhamma hetu trabhava hetum tekam tatagato hiyawadet tekam chayo naroda evam vadi mahashramanai soha. And then we silently read this next verse, and then we make offering again to Tara. Oh, Maria Tara Saparivara Benzra. See at the bottom of the page. Argam, Padyam, Pujpe, Dupe, Aloke, Gande, Naividya, Shabda, Rupa, Shabda, Gande, Rasa, Sparshe, Dhammaprati Saho, Bencha, Belinda, Rakta, Kati. Freeing suffering, all Buddhas yum, color, true green, blue, swift heroine, long good gem dispels to cake and foes, praise and honor, kind sublime lady. And we are not doing the tzok at this time. We will do it on Sunday. We might do one on Saturday. And now, so we go to page 12. Do we have offering for Ekazati? Can we do that? Does she have tea? Okay, well, let's give her tea. So we need her protection. So just to explain, we're still Tara. Of course, it's not a small thing to doff your ordinary sense of your body, right? So it's a big part of tantric practice. I mean, we practice this for years and years and years to become actually able to disidentify with ordinariness and identify with Tara. And that's something that you can be practicing as you're reciting the mantra. You can just be cultivating love, as you know how to do. You're cultivating attention, right, by paying attention to the mantra. You're cultivating an orientation to wisdom by challenging your ordinary assumption that you are real in your ordinary form. So there's a lot going on, and you can be reflecting on that as you're reciting the mantra and seeing what your possibility is for feeling that you're sending out light to Tara, receiving blessings from Tara, sending out light to the world, blessing and enlightening the world. I mean, all of this runs quite contrary to our ordinary sense of what we're doing. So it takes a lot of cultivation and a lot of practice. So simultaneously, one reason this is a powerful practice is because you are, in effect, simultaneously practicing attention, love, and wisdom. And, of course, you would ordinarily have, and you will, if you hang with us and proceed right along the path, the next time you do Tara, you will have a lot of experience of the foundational practices. So that means you would already have really done some cultivation of compassion, really done some reflection on impermanence and insubstantiality, and so be very prepared for that to ripen into this practice. But it can work the other way also. We're doing this practice, and then we'll go back to the seeds of it, and they reinforce each other. Okay, thank you. Ekadzati is the protectress of the Dzogchen lineage, and so we always close with a prayer to her, and particularly now, we can't really, she's a powerful Dakini herself. So as Tara, we can command her, we can ask her to please protect. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so we do this 7 times, 3 times in Tibetan, 3 times in English, but you can do it in English if Tibetan isn't familiar to you yet. Ho belden ekadzati dang transo kyapchuk rahula tamshin dorje lekpa so nyingtik nyamba densung so tamse dutsi dorma bol nelchar dakla gangab cho wei tinlei mai aljo. It's on page 12 of the Tara practice. Hong belden ekadzati dang transo kyapchuk rahula tamchen dorje lekpa so ningting nyamba densung so tamse dutsi dorma bol nelchar dakla gongo cho wei tinlei mai aldrup. Hong belden ekadzati dang transo kyapchuk rahula tamchen dorje lekpa so ningting nyamba densung so tamse dutsi dorma bol nelchar dakla gongo cho wei tinlei mai aldrup. Hong glorious ekadzati and Rishi Vishnu Rahula, oathbound Dorje Legpa, all hardest and Skardi and host, take this Drolma of refuge, guard this yogi, give refuge, Keep your trust, your deeds alive. Hong Belden Eka Zati Dang Transa Kyapchik Rahula Tamjin Dorje Lake Baso Ningding Yamba Densun So Tamse Duzi Dorma Bol Nelcher Dagla Gungo Cho Cho Wei Tinle Ma Eldru Hong Belden Eka Zati Dang Transa Kyapchik Rahula Tamjin Dorje Lake Baso Ningding Yamba Densun So Tamse Duzi Dorma Bol Nelcher Dagla Gungo Cho Cho Wei Tinle Ma Eldru Hong Belden Eka Zadi Dan Damso Kyabchik Rahula Tamshin Dorje Lake Baso Ningding Yamba Denzung Zok Tamse Duzi Dorma Pol Nelcher Dakla Gungo Cho Cho Wei Tinle Mael Drew. By next page in dedication. By this good may I swiftly once become Jadson Drolma, lead all beings, everyone, to reach to that very ground. Jadson Drolma is Tara, that's a Tibetan for Tara. So we're saying once we are Tara, we're going to help everybody. Freeing suffering, all Buddha's yom, color true green, blue, swift heroine, long good gem, displays to cake and foes, grant good fortune, kind sublime lady. And our prayers for our teachers, we can go to this for that. Do you have it? Page 25. In a pure land ringed by snow mountains, source of bliss and benefit for all, powerful Denzin Jiaozu Chenrezi, lotus feet please stay hundreds of years, fill vast space with your activities. Om Swasti, flawless refuge, sources give blessings, teacher, protector, kind Dharma Lord, Jorme Tupten Jatso, wondrous good, lotus feet ever, deeds everywhere. Namo Guru, and the top of 27. Glorious, wise K. Brightson and kind song, one that your work here has subsided. Please think of our pain, sad suffering. We pray you swiftly take form again. Harvey, like the waxing moon, may your life and merit flourish, grow. Through the threefold skillful pundits' deeds, live long benefiting all you meet. By the true power of two Vajra truths, 3 jewels, 3 roots, Buddha's compassion, faithful Sangha and aspiration, may this prayer be realized at once. Prayer for Dawn Mountain on 32. May there be a great fine new temple, a great seat for all high practice learning, which having spread in all directions, male and female yogis everywhere, practice and further the teachings there. And our dedication, we've done, aspiration. Sarah, would you light the candle? The central candle here? As we make our aspiration and then speak about lighting the candle. Do you know what, there's the kind of a butter lamp in the middle there? And there should be a lighter also. Oh, it's lit. But there's another one that's not lit. We left one unlit. There's a little tea lamp inside the... Yes, okay. By this, oops, we've done that. May all beings always have happiness and its causes. May all beings always be free of pain and its causes. For as long as space abides, as long as the world remains, just so long may I be there, resolving all beings' pain. We can make this work by till we all rise forth, born in, then the meter will work, okay? Till we all rise forth, born in. With all of you in mind, we light this lamp of clarity. May the glow of love, wisdom shine within us, everyone, till we all rise forth, born in one enlightened mandala. And the book is, we didn't pass it around. Shall I just read it? Was everybody here last night? Should I pass it around? Huh? You kept yours the same? I'm going to read it from yesterday, okay? And if there is somebody else you want to add, you can just speak it out, or and then we'll give you the book at that time. Is that okay? Chip Lacey, LaHonda Henderson, Josh Henderson, Stephen Henderson, Don Urowitz, Paul Rowe in the Bardo, John Boland, Cynthia, Francis and Albert, Nancy Hirsch Martin, Celia V. in the Bardo, Nora, Benny, Hadley family, Larry Hall, Gray Hall, Greg Hall, Lewis, Larry, Gary, I'm not sure, Barnett, Aram Shah, Michael, Betty, Mark, Rosalie, Ken, Glenn, Heather, Seema, Alana, John, Rita, Shao, Kendall, Jenny, Theodore, Julie, Harvey, Tom, Miranda, Thomas's friend, Marcia, Thea in the Bardo, Satya, Evan, Christy, Mary P., Mary Christian, or Mary Christina, Dennis, Martin, Larry, Henriette, Camille, Tom, Peter, Guillermo, Zachary, Ginny, Hope, Julia, Mary, Gail, Ken, Clara, Marco, Estevan, Lois, Marvin Henderson in the Bardo, Bonnie Henderson, Cheryl Henderson, Kelly, Sholifo, Elizabeth, Jackie, Charles, Carlo, Janet and families, Tilton Jackson, Lisa, Maison, Patricio, Bert, Long in the Bardo, Peggy in the Bardo, Matt, who has illness, Jerry, Joan Barton, Mary Equers, Ilan, Jancy, Ramya, and Kevin, Bobby, Jeanette, all ill children, Ruby Wong and family, Harry Hutton, Joanne Hutton, Kate Hutton, Lois Silverstein, Mary Smith Bell's mother, Levon Schultz in the Bardo, Namvo, Concepcione, Nore Dunn, Dan Perdue, Dan Kozort, Valerie Stevens and Guy, Sidney Pyburn, Anshul Varma. Anybody else? Anybody else? You can write it in if you want later. Yeah. Good. You just say the name and then write it. Oh. And we send out one sharing the blessings of our practice, which with each other, sending them out to our own and each other's futures and to everybody. Thank you, everybody. We'll be here with Tara tomorrow also. Okay, yeah.
I have a question on this 100-syllable mantra on page 14. I'm familiar with that from my bodhisattva practice. What is Benjra?
It's just the way that most Tibetans pronounce it. The most Tibetans pronounce Vajra Bendra.
Now, bodhisattva learned was the Buddha Purification.
Right.
What is Benja?
Benza is Vajra. It's the same thing.
Okay. So,
It's the way Tibetans pronounce the word Vajra.
AKA.
Exactly.
Okay.
And don't we supposed to use that pronunciation since that's in our language?
Yes, it's often said, do you pronounce the way your teacher pronounces? So we pronounce it Benja.